Hey everyone. So in this video, I'm going to be going over painsplit as well as bide because I found this combination to be kind of tricky during this past war because Elle does both of these things and it can be very challenging at times to take her out without actually triggering bide. So the important points to note about painsplit is that whatever toon ends up using painsplit, so whether it's by an active skill or a rush, other than Elle, I'm not sure if there's another toon that uses painsplit by their active skill. So the toon that triggers it ends up linking themselves to an ally who has the highest amount of HP. But if you were to trigger two painsplits, then you can't have both of them working at the same time on the same toon that the original one is linked to, so the later one will end up taking precedence. I know when I first started out playing, painsplit was pretty easy for me to deal with because I could sometimes kill one toon and end up killing both of them just based on the amount of damage that I was dealing. But with a toon like Elle, where Bide comes into play, it becomes a bit of a conundrum because she's able to painsplit off her active skill on the first turn. And as painsplit suggests, it splits the amount of damage equally across both targets. As an offensive player, it's easy enough to predict who a toon will painsplit with. Therefore, you are able to manipulate it. And by manipulate it, I mean if you end up attacking a toon with the highest amount of HP and other toons, you are able to direct where the painsplit will go based on what toon has the current highest HP. One scenario that I haven't tested for is what if two toons have the exact same highest HP? Which one will take precedence, and will it be consistent, or is it based on positioning or something else completely unrelated? Now, when we move on to Bide, Bide is a little more tricky to understand because there are a lot of different scenarios where Bide triggers even when you don't plan on it triggering. Basically, the character stores the amount of damage that it takes by attacks, active abilities, as well as rushes. It can store up to 2,000 damage before automatically releasing 1.5 times that amount of damage, or 3,000 damage. Bide can also be triggered by doing the defend action, which involves swiping to the right on your character. Now, I find it pretty annoying, but also pretty smart, that the AI on defense can acknowledge when the amount of Bide energy stored up will be able to kill a toon on the opponent's team, and it will automatically trigger it on its own. Luckily, after a character with Bide uses Bide, it's set back to 0, meaning you're unlikely to trigger it again right away. Bide will also not trigger if the character is killed, but this is not the case always if there is a painsplit or if a rush is a multi-attack rush. Additionally, damage over time effects like bleed and burn or hemobleed will not add to Bide, so this is a clever way of sometimes bringing down Bide characters without losing anyone on your team. There really isn't any good way of dealing with Bide, because even if you stun the character with Bide, it can still automatically trigger if you hit that 2,000 damage mark. One of the clever ways of dealing with Bide is by running a Guardian Shield on offense. A Guardian Shield has the ability to mitigate the damage from one effect or attack. So this includes reflect damage, it includes Bide, it includes payback, it includes rushes, it includes a variety of different actions where you could end up taking damage, excluding bleed and burn, which happen behind the shield, but it can also take the impact from maim damage. So now that I've talked about Bide and I've talked about painsplit, basically a really good combination for people who have Elle, but a problematic one for people who don't have her, or for the people who have to fight her, because it's very difficult at times to make sure that she doesn't end up triggering her Bide ability and killing one of your attackers on offense. And in war, it's especially important to try and finish with 5 alive, because if you have 5 alive, you do 240 damage to the opponent's HP, and for every toon that you lose, you end up doing less damage, which means you have to do more attacks to kill them. Now, here's some film from the last war where I came across an Elle team, and you'll notice that I position my hits so I don't trigger Elle automatically. I go for Dr. Stevens with my James in order to apply some damage, and even if he collaterals, then the damage is only going to go to Krista and Donnie. And here I have to think about this because Elle is right now pain splitting with Kapoor. I rush, I didn't do enough damage, and I ended up losing my Priya. I was able to follow up by using James's rush, and I was soon after able to finish the match. The unfortunate side is I finished with only 4 up instead of 5, and I would always like to finish a match 30 seconds sooner and lose a toon, but in this case I didn't even finish 30 seconds sooner, but still lost that toon. So after that match, I tried to devise a strategy in order to try and kill Elle without triggering Bide. So I tried to practice on a Bide friendly team that had Ryan in it, just to see how I would go about attacking him as if he were Elle who was pain splitting. And I ended up finding a way to not trigger Bide by using attack up and defense down. But when I ended up rushing Ryan, 99% of the time I triggered reflect damage, which ended up killing my Priya anyway. So the simple solution I found is a combination of defense down and attack up, but I wanted to take it a step further. So at the start of this match, you can see me checking the stats of all the toons present. And what I'm doing is looking for the toon that has the highest HP and comparing their defense to the other toons on the team. I want to make sure that the toon with the highest amount of HP is the one with the lowest amount of defense, and I want to make sure that I have a trade advantage when I end up attacking this team. Meaning, I want to rush with either James or Priya, so I need to attack a yellow or a red toon with this team. So now I'm using attack up with Glenn, and I'm going to rush Donnie with my Priya. See, I ended up doing over 13,000 damage to the team, and part of this is because of the trade advantage. Now, here we're going to watch the match again, but we're going to slow it down just a little bit. So, the reason why I'm identifying the toon with the lowest amount of defense is because when a toon has lower defense, it means you can do more damage when you attack. The basic attacking formula to calculate damage is your toon's attack times the leadership skill times the weapon skill, all in brackets, then you add the mod bonus, that's in brackets, and then it's multiplied by limited time rush bonuses as well as war towers. So in this case, it would be plus 65% attack for Glenn. Next, that formula goes into the attack defense formula that Scopely made, which I heard is about 0.87 to 1 in range. It's just a random number. And then that number goes into the final part of the formula. So if there's a trade advantage, it's times 2 plus or minus whatever type of attack versus certain trait and defense versus certain trait are present, as well as if it's a critical hit, it's times 1.5 plus the amount on the crit damage mods, and a couple other things. But the point is, by attacking someone who I have a trait advantage over, I end up doing a lot more damage than if I were attacking someone who doesn't have a trait advantage. Now, there is one other method that I find to be quite effective, but very few people use it, and it still involves using the same attack team and utilizing Priya, but in a different way. So Priya actually has a really useful active skill. She can remove all positive status effects from a line of enemies, and pain split is a positive status effect. So in this match, I end up using Cole to control, and I'm kind of working my way around it just to make sure that Bide did end up using her pain split ability. Here, I'm going to use Priya's active skill, and now she's no longer healing herself, and she no longer has pain split with Pete. So I use Diego's defense down and attack away from Elle. She ends up triggering her Bide, which ends up not killing anyone because my Cole is pain splitting with my James. Now I'm able to attack with James with a minus 65% defense debuff and a plus 65% attack boost. Reflect damage still ends up killing me, but I am able to kill Elle without triggering Bide again. Since I started this video, Princess was released, and she has the ability Normalize, which basically disarms a toon's specialist skill. So with Princess, I could end up nullifying Bide, Payback, and a bunch of other abilities, even Kapoor's Dexterity, which would make him less tanky. Thank you everyone for watching and listening to my video.